everyone! Welcome back to Winter Crafts for Kids. I'm Miss Lizzie here at the Drake Library, and I'm here to bring you another fun winter craft. Now you saw what the craft looked like at the beginning of this video, so we're going to be making winter birdhouses. Now this is another fun popsicle stick craft, and this one's fairly easy, and it's just essentially just an art piece that you can hang on the fridge, hang on the wall. Very fun, very simple. So what I'm using today is I have some construction paper. I have a bunch of different colors depending on what color you want to make your bird. So I have some yellow, some brown, some orange, and then I have blue. I have a nice light blue piece of cardstock paper for the background. You can use whatever color paper you want in the background. I chose this light blue. I think a dark blue would look really nice as well, or if you just wanted to use white. And then again, like I said, these colors are kind of for the color of my bird, so I'm looking to make my bird brown with little orange beak and maybe a yellow feather. So you can make your bird all one color. You can change the color depending on what kind of bird. Maybe you want to put a cardinal in your birdhouse. You could do some red construction paper. Whatever you prefer, whatever you have. I have a paper plate for some paint. The paint I have is white, and this is I'm going to be used to paint snow in the background. And then I have some gold paint, which is kind of an added thing that I'm going to do for the nest. So it's not a necessary step, and it's not a necessary paint that you need to have. Brown will work just fine. I have some pipe cleaners. This is what I'm going to use for the nest. These are kind of some beige ones. And I was thinking of adding some gold to them. I thought that would look really pretty, but again, you don't need to do that. You can use brown paint if you want, or you could even, if you don't have, if you could just have brown pipe cleaners, you could use those. You could even use twigs if you find any outside. You could use some hay if you had some for nesting, maybe even some rocks. That's what's really great about this, is you can kind of get creative with the nest. You could even just draw your kids can just draw in with marker if they wanted to, or more paint. They could paint nesting totally fine. And then I have 4 jumbo popsicle sticks. Now again, you could use sticks with these. These are basically just to form a basic shape. You could draw this if you wanted to. You don't have to put these on a background if you don't want to. If you wanted to have an isolated birdhouse on a stick, you could do that. You would need to have some backing though, so the bird can stick on it. But again, use what you have if you want to get creative. It's just kind of a basic outline, but if you do want to get these materials, I'll have a list and description of everything that I'm using. And then I have a paintbrush for painting. I have googly eyes, which are optional. You can always draw on the eye. You can always cut out and draw an eye with construction paper and then cut it out. Paint the eye, whatever you please. I just really like the look of googly eyes, and we have quite a bit here at the library, so I like to use them. I have some scissors for cutting, and I have a hot glue gun. This is absolutely able to be used with just regular school glue. I'm just using a hot glue gun for the purpose of this video, so it can dry quicker. If you want to do the gluing yourself as the parent or guardian ahead of time and use a hot glue gun, that's absolutely fine. Or if this is solely for the child and they're using the glue on their own, then I would recommend using school glue for this one, a nice wet glue, tacky glue that will stick better than a glue stick. So this is a great craft for younger kids. If you want, if you have younger kids who are starting to use scissors, this is great for their fine motor skills to cut things, cut different shapes. If you want to draw maybe the shapes ahead of time and they can cut them out. Or if they're too young, you can always do the cutting yourself as the parent or guardian, or if they have an older child that's maybe allowed to use scissors that can help out. Absolutely, it's totally up to you, whatever you feel you'd like to do. So with that, let's get started. Let's jump right into making the craft. So I'm going to start by gluing down my popsicle sticks. So I'm basically making a triangle with a stick on the bottom. So if you watched last week, the hibernating bear, I made a triangle with the popsicle sticks like this, and then I'm just going to add a stick to the bottom so it looks like it's coming out of the ground. So I'm going to use my glue gun, and I'm going to put some glue on there and stick it right on. Now I'm not going to stick it all the way to the bottom of the page. I'm going to leave a little bit of room so that way you can put some snow there, like there's snow on the ground, but you can absolutely put it all the way down to make it fit, or you know, if you have bigger paper, that's great too. And then I'm going to glue the others. So I'm going to make mine fit, and as you can see, a little bit of that popsicle stick will stick through, and that's okay because you can always cover it with nesting. So whatever you have to do is absolutely fine. So I'm just going to glue the other pieces down into a triangle. And this is great to talk about shapes with the kids. And if you wanted to, you can do other shapes. If you want to do different forms of this craft, you can do one that's a square. You can do one that's a circle if you wanted to. If you didn't want to use popsicle sticks, maybe you used string, or if you just drew it, all the different shapes. Because it's a fun craft and it's a fun activity, but there's always something to learn, which I love about these things. Because it's creative and fun, but also educational, which is always really great and really important. So I'm finishing gluing my triangle. And there it is. That's what it looks like. I have hot glue string on it, which hopefully won't be an issue for you. But so that's what it looks like right now. And now I'm going to put a little bird in there. So you can either do the nesting first and then put the bird on top, or do the bird and then the nesting. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to do the bird first, just so I can make sure that it will fit. And like I said, I'm going to use brown construction paper, but you can use any color. And I'm just going to freehand it. Feel free to trace ahead of time. I personally probably should be doing this because I'm not the best artist. This is also a really great moment if your kids want to draw the bird themselves, and they can kind of really design what it's going to look like. But it's also okay if you're freehanding it. I'm just doing a little oval for the body, and then I'm going to add a little head. So I have this shape, so you can see it better. And then I'm going to add a little circle for the head, similar to the hibernating bear, if you saw that craft from a couple weeks ago. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect, especially when you have your little one doing it. It's going to be so wonderful. All right, so now I have a little circle to go on top. So it has a little body. And I'm just going to check if it fits inside the triangle. It does, which is great. And so I'm going to glue that down into the middle. I'm going to start with the body, and then add the little head. So I have this so far. Nothing much yet, but that's okay. And again, if you don't have a lot of colors of construction paper, you can draw on the beak and draw on the eye. You could use the same colors, it's totally up to you. But now I'm going to cut out a little triangle, a little orange triangle to use as the beak. Very simple. And I'm just going to glue that on. Like so. Very cute. And then I'm just going to cut out a little oval to make a little feather. And I'm just going to use yellow so it stands out quite nicely. That's a little thin. I want to make it a little better. And you can absolutely find templates online. Like I said, if you'd rather, if this is something maybe you don't have a lot of time and you just kind of want to prep it ahead so you have everything cut out and your little one can just put it together, totally fine. And that can make it a lot easier. But if they're old enough to use scissors and they want to do it themselves, that's great. Or if they're not old enough to use scissors, but they can draw all the little parts of their bird, and then you, as the parent or guardian, can always cut it out. That's great too. And then I'm just going to glue on a little feather. Ta-da! So we have this little bird friend in our house. And now I'm going to add a little eye. I'm going to choose my googly eye to put on. Like I said, these aren't necessary, but they are really fun and they do look really, really cute once they're on. But again, it can absolutely just be drawn. I chose quite a big googly eye, so it looks very silly. And there's our little bird. Alright, and now for the nesting. So I have pipe cleaners. And like I said, you can use a bunch of different things, anything you can find. If you wanted to even use cotton balls, very much like the hibernating bear craft, and just rip them up and glue them on. Maybe he's in a snowy nest. Or if you wanted to, and even color them brown or other colors, moss colored to make it like he collected grass for his nest. If you want to use actual sticks from outside, leaves, hay, whatever you can find and whatever you want to use. Don't feel like you're just limited to pipe cleaners, but that's what I'm going to use today. And if you have some or want to use some, that's great. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm just going to cut them into little pieces, kind of in fourths. And I'm just going to see, I'm going to do it twice and see how many I have, because that should be enough. Yeah, that's more than enough. So they're not too long, they're about a couple inches. And you can make them even smaller if you wanted to. And I'm just going to lay them out and kind of see how many I want. And that looks good. I'm just going to use a few. So I have 6 here. But again, depending on the size of yours, you might need more, you might need less. So whatever you feel. And again, I'm just going to glue these on underneath the bird. Just with my glue gun. This is a great craft for this time of year. Talk about different birds in winter, which I really like and I think is really fun. And I'm just kind of laying them, not really in any particular order, not in any straight line, so it looks a bit more like nesting. And I'm almost out of glue. Perfect. Alright. And it looks like this in his little nest. And because I just wanted to add something fun to this, I'm going to add a little bit of paint to the pipe cleaners. You don't have to do this, like I said, it's completely optional. I have some fun gold paint here. If you wanted to paint it a different color, that's fine. If you don't want to paint it at all, that's also fine. So I'm just taking a little bit of the gold paint. And I have a paintbrush here. This is kind of a big, just bristly paintbrush. I thought this would be really great for the snow, but I'm going to use it for the gold as well. And just kind of dab it on to the pipe cleaners, just so they have a little bit more color and sparkle. Because why not? Sparkles are fun. Even if it's not necessarily realistic. It's not about being realistic, it's just having fun. So now they're a little bit more of a darker gold color, which I think looks really nice. Alright, and we're almost at the end now. I'm just going to paint some snow. So I have some white tempera paint. It's washable. I always say, and I think everyone agrees, that washable paint is always the best option when we're doing kids' crafts. But if you don't have that and you have acrylic paint, you want to be very careful. Great. That's wonderful. And I also think personally that this would be a really fun craft to do finger painting. Again, if you have time for the mess and you're feeling bold. It's very great for kids, for their sensory, to use their hands and their fingers and to paint on the craft. It's really great. Kids love it. Not just because it's messy, but it feels really great for their senses. And I think that their fingers are a great size to make the snowflakes. You can also use cotton balls if you want to dip the cotton balls, another great sensory for them to feel what that cotton ball feels like and poke it along the paper. Q-tips are great as well to get really little snowflakes. Sponge, if you have an old sponge you want to cut up, so you don't necessarily need a paintbrush, which is great. Broccoli, sounds really silly, but it gives a really great texture. And if you wanted to if you had all of these things and you wanted to incorporate all of them and see the different things, how different things feel, if you wanted to make it a real sensory oriented craft, that's a great idea. I'm just going to use a paintbrush today, which is also perfectly fine. And again, like I said, I like how bristly this is. So how it's going to look with the snow I think looks really nice. And I'm really just kind of blotting this on the paper. And I have some gold left over on my paintbrush, so it won't come up as white. But there's really, again, no rhyme or reason to this. And let the kids kind of just go at it and do whatever they want. And then I'm going to add some to the ground as well, like there's a nice snowy ground. Now if you had just white paper and you were doing this on white paper, you could skip this step because it looks like they're in a nice snowy area. Or you could draw on snowflakes. You could use blue instead and switch the colors. You can make rainbow snowflakes, whatever you prefer, whatever you have. And basically, this is it. And if you want to add some glitter too, that would look really great on the snow. Look really pretty. And here's my Snowy Birdhouse picture. I think this is really cute. I think this is a great decoration to hang up in winter on the fridge, in the bedroom, you know, in the little kid's bedroom if you wanted to. If you wanted to make this, like I said earlier, without the background and you just wanted it to be a birdhouse on a stick, you could always cut out this back triangle here so the bird has backing, and it could be a little puppet and turn into a toy, which is really fun, and they can carry it around with them. But I think it looks really pretty and really fun with the background, and then they can add some snow, which is again a great sensory option to go along with the other fine motor options of the craft. So that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. A lot more on the material heavy side, but if you have a lot of these things at home, it shouldn't be too bad. And again, always modify it to suit whatever you need to, and I try to add different modifications to hopefully help if you don't have everything. And like I said, I love that these are fun and creative, but I also love when they're educational. So because we're a library here, I love to incorporate books that you can use if you make this craft. If you want to read some books along with it, it's totally fine if you just want to do this craft just as a craft, but I love incorporating books into it and different learning experiences. So a couple of books we have is I have a nonfiction book for young children. This is called Birds in Winter, and basically just tells you what different birds do if they go south for the winter, if they stay, and if they stay, where do they go, what do they do. So we have some ducks, geese, cardinals, what cardinals eat in the winter, different kinds of birds, what happens when the weather gets warm. This is a really great book, especially for younger kids, to learn about birds. And then this is a book, this is just a regular picture book called No Two Alike by Keith Baker. And this is just really cute. It doesn't really have to do with birds, but it does follow these two birds and shows you how two things may look alike in winter, but they're not necessarily the same, including themselves. So it talks about how no two snowflakes are alike. They're close, but they're not quite. And this has really pretty illustrations. And again, this is just a fun read if you want to add it along with the craft to stay on the bird theme. We also have a wonderful book that is checked out right now called Backyard Birds in Winter. That's kind of an older nonfiction book with a lot of words and pictures all about the different backyard birds in winter. And if you don't have any of these books, or if you don't want to check any out, you can also always go outside and even do some bird watching if you wanted to in your backyard and see all the different birds you can see and talk about those, because I think that would be really, really great. But again, you can always just make the craft, and that can be it, which is completely fine. So again, here's our craft, and I want to thank you so much for watching and joining me this week. And again, if you make this, please send it to me. I would love to see it on our Drake It Library Children's Room Facebook page. I would love to see what you guys make and all the different ways you come up with your own birds, or any of the other crafts that I've made in the past. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon and you join us again for another craft. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.